Chapter 6, Tempting of the Darkness. 6.1 Ambassador of one and only true moral. Sometimes, we become so entrenched in our moral beliefs that it's difficult to imagine that we could be contributing to the toxic environment of the internet. For instance, consider a scenario where your mother and father are physically ill and unable to work, and their low retirement income is barely sufficient to cover their medical expenses. You come across a Facebook post about how people should work themselves to death, and without considering the possibility that it could be meant as irony, you feel a sudden urge to protect all the retired people from early death and poverty. You begin to participate in discussions and debates on social media related to retirement policy, and as you become more passionate about the issue, you start to notice that some of the other participants are becoming increasingly hostile and aggressive towards you and those who share your views. Despite this, you continue to engage in the debates, feeling that it's important to stand up for what you believe in. You post comments and share articles that you feel support your views, but you start to notice that your words are having unintended consequences. The discussions are becoming more divisive and toxic, and you begin to realize that your actions are contributing to this negative online environment. Questions to ask yourself. Am I being respectful of others' opinions, even if I disagree with them? Am I engaging in debates or discussions in a civil and respectful manner? Am I distorting information about others and exaggerating their villainous qualities to gain an advantage over them? Am I promoting harmful stereotypes or prejudices, using racist or sexist language, even when it is just a joke? Am I engaging in trolling behavior, such as deliberately provoking others to elicit an emotional response? Am I being mindful of the impact of my words on others and avoiding posting anything that could be harmful or offensive? Am I seeking out more constructive ways of engaging with others who have different views, rather than engaging in hostile or toxic debates? Activity idea, Devil's Advocate. Materials, a list of controversial topics, such as politics, religion, or social issues, small slips of paper for participants to draw from. Instructions. Divide the participants into 2 groups. Have each group draw a slip of paper with a controversial topic on it, and assign them the task of preparing arguments to defend one of the 2 opposing opinions on the topic. Participants do not need to agree with the opinion they are assigned to defend. Instruct the groups to prepare for a passionate debate on the topic they have been assigned. They should research their position, gather evidence, imagine all the valid reasoning and practice presenting their arguments. Once each group is prepared, bring the 2 groups together and have them perform a debate with each other. After each group has presented, have the participants switch roles. This time, they should present the opposite side of the argument. Once the debates are complete, have the participants reflect on the experience. Ask them questions such as, how did it feel to argue for a position you don't necessarily agree with? Did you find yourself becoming emotionally invested in the debate, even though it was just a role play? How did you react when someone challenged your arguments or beliefs? Did you feel like you were being swayed by the arguments of the other side? How do you think this exercise relates to online debates and discussions? 6.2 Scarecrow. Imagine you come across a post on social media that shows a cat tied by the tail on a tree branch. The image might be something that you find weird or even shocking, but you don't realize that it could be deeply traumatic for someone who has experienced something similar. You share the post with your friends, not thinking about the potential consequences. However, a friend or acquaintance reaches out to you and tells you that the image has triggered their anxiety and caused them to have a panic attack. In their childhood, their cat was tortured by a city gang. You feel guilty and ashamed, realizing that you didn't consider the impact of sharing such content with others. Exposure to graphic and violent content is becoming increasingly common today. Whether through news, games, movies, or social media, it's not uncommon to encounter disturbing content. However, people's ability to watch and process graphic and violent imagery varies greatly, with some able to handle it without issues, while others find it highly disturbing. They are highly sensitive to violent or graphic content. These individuals may have experienced trauma in the past, suffer from anxiety or other mental health conditions, or they can be highly sensitive people. Exposure to graphic or violent content can trigger intense emotional reactions, including panic attacks, nightmares, and other symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Then, there are others somewhat desensitized to graphic and violent content. These individuals may have grown up in environments where such content was common, or they may have been exposed to it through their work, such as healthcare professionals. While they may not experience the same level of distress as highly sensitive individuals, they may still find the content disturbing. And finally, there are those who are highly desensitized to graphic and violent content. These people may have developed a tolerance for such content through repeated exposure, or they may have a natural ability to detach from their emotions. While they may not experience the same level of distress as highly sensitive individuals, they may also be at risk for developing callousness and a lack of empathy over time. 6.3 Slowly boiled crab. The brain is a complex organ, capable of processing vast amounts of information and stimuli on a daily basis. But it is also highly sensitive to certain types of content, particularly when it comes to violent or graphic material or narratives that are highly triggering. In recent years, we have seen an explosion in online content, from social media and news websites to streaming services and online forums. While this increased access to information and entertainment can be empowering and exciting, it also comes with significant risks. In the extreme cases, there are corners of the internet, such as the dark web or 4chan, which are notorious for sharing graphic and violent content that can be extremely traumatizing for those who stumble upon it. In this context, it is important to understand the biochemistry of the brain and its limitations. Whether it is exposure to gradually extreme pornography or watching a seemingly harmless show about a suicidal girl, the brain can be significantly impacted by exposure to this type of material, leading to anxiety, trauma, and other mental health issues. Story of 13 Reasons Why. 13 Reasons Why is a trendy Netflix show that explores events leading up to a teen girl's suicide. While praised for frank portrayal of mental health issues, it is criticized for graphic depictions of suicide. Some mental health experts suggest the show's release may have contributed to increased suicide rates. A study published in JAMA Psychiatry in 2019 found a significant increase in suicide rates among young people in the US following the show's release. The suicide rate among 10 to 17-year-olds increased by nearly 30% in the month after the show, and there was an overall increase in suicides during the following 9 months. While difficult to draw a direct link between the show and the increase in suicide rates, some mental health experts suggest vivid and sensationalized portrayal of suicide may have contributed to a copycat effect among vulnerable young people. Netflix has taken steps to edit certain scenes and provide additional support for viewers. Relationship between media depictions of suicide and actual suicide rates is complex and not well understood. Some studies have suggested a link between media portrayals of suicide and suicide rates, while others found no such relationship. Some studies suggest responsible depictions of suicide may have a positive impact on suicide prevention efforts. Sad fact _case of Selena Scola. Former Facebook content moderator Selena Scola filed a lawsuit against the company claiming that her work had caused her to develop PTSD and depression. According to the lawsuit, Scola was exposed to thousands of graphic and disturbing images and videos on a daily basis, including images of child abuse, beheadings, and other forms of violence. She alleged that Facebook failed to provide adequate support or protection for content moderators, despite knowing the potential risks of their work. Activity idea: graphic content. Begin by explaining to the participants how exposure to violent or extreme content can impact their biochemistry and mental health. Provide examples and studies that demonstrate the potential risks of exposure to graphic material, and discuss how the brain responds to this type of content. 15 minutes. Ask participants to share stories from their childhood or adolescence about encounters with violent or extreme content. These could be stories about watching a particularly violent movie or show, playing a violent video game, or coming across graphic content online. 15 minutes. Encourage participants to reflect on how these experiences made them feel at the time, and how they may have impacted their mental health or expectations about life. 10 minutes. After sharing those experiences, ask participants to reflect on any coping mechanisms they may have developed to manage exposure to violent or extreme content, such as limiting their consumption of certain types of media or seeking out mental health support when needed. 15 minutes. 6.4 Content creator. Have you ever found yourself scrolling through Instagram or watching YouTube and feeling like you just don't measure up to the people you see on there? It can be tough to feel confident in yourself and your appearance when you're constantly bombarded with images of people who seem to have it all together. Imagine that you accidentally became famous by creating a few videos about your favorite car. Suddenly, you are gaining 1,000 followers a day and you become a YouTuber. But here is the thing, you were never really confident to begin with. Watching other channels with buffed guys only makes it worse. You start to feel self-conscious about your appearance, especially since you do not look like those guys. You have a short jaw and a weird voice, and making new videos becomes a bigger and bigger struggle for you, even though people seem to like your content. You try to cut back on meals to lose some weight, but you find yourself overeating from stress. And then you discover something new: it is easier to vomit after eating. You start doing this more and more, thinking it is your new, miraculous way to fulfill the expectations of your viewers. Why should we not pay too much attention to what appears to be valuable on the internet? It is important to understand that we should not rely too heavily on the internet to determine what is considered standard in our lives. The internet is a virtual space where almost anything can be fabricated. Many content creators may not be able to achieve success in their real lives and are using the internet as a way of compensating for their shortcomings. Therefore, we should not compare ourselves to these internet personas, as it is a never-ending battle that can lead to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. Instead, it is crucial that we engage in fair competition in real-life situations. This is where we can truly see and appreciate others for who they are. For example, we may discover that someone's body posture seems more attractive than the face, or that smooth conversation with someone feels more valuable than someone else's selfies in front of a mirror. By focusing on real-life interactions, we can gain a more accurate and authentic understanding of ourselves and others. According to the National Eating Disorders Association, NADA, body dysmorphic disorder affects up to 2.4% of the general population, and approximately 13% of individuals with an eating disorder. In addition, a study published in JAMA Pediatrics found that from 2000 to 2018, there was a significant increase in the number of minors and young adults hospitalized for eating disorders, with a particular increase in males. Another study published in the Journal of Adolescent Health found that social media use was associated with an increased risk of body dissatisfaction and eating disorders in young adults. Beauty trends on the internet can change very quickly, sometimes within a matter of days or weeks. Social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are particularly influential in shaping these trends, as they provide a space for influencers and content creators to share their latest looks and beauty routines with a global audience. This pressure can be compounded by feelings of insecurity and inadequacy, as people compare themselves to the seemingly perfect images they see online. Marketers and beauty companies are well aware of these insecurities and often use them as a way to promote expensive products. By capitalizing on people's desire to look a certain way, these companies can create a sense of urgency around their products and justify charging high prices. According to a survey by the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, 55% of surgeons reported an increase in cosmetic procedures among patients under the age of 30 in 2020, which some have attributed to the influence of social media on body image. Additionally, a study published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that people who spend more time on social media tend to have higher levels of body dissatisfaction and lower self-esteem. In summary, beauty trends on the internet can change very quickly, and people's insecurities around their appearance can be used to promote expensive products. This can lead to feelings of pressure and inadequacy, particularly among young people who are most likely to be influenced by social media. Real-life examples of people struggling with these issues include model Charlie Howard and influencer Nikki DeJagger, among others. Historic beauty standards. Foot binding in China. The practice of foot binding involved breaking and binding the feet of young girls to prevent them from growing more than a few inches long, resulting in a small, pointed foot that was seen as a sign of beauty and social status. Corsets in Europe and North America. Corsets were tight-fitting undergarments designed to cinch in the waist and create an hourglass figure. They were worn by women from the 16th to the early 20th century and could be so tight that they caused organ damage and difficulty breathing. Powdered wigs in 18th century Europe. Wigs made of human or animal hair were coated in powder made of flour or starch, which could attract lice and cause scalp infections. Wigs were worn by both men and women, as a sign of status and fashion. Sun-bleached hair in ancient Rome. Women in ancient Rome would lighten their hair by exposing it to the sun and applying a mixture of chalk and ashes. However, this practice could cause hair to become brittle and break easily. Foot-tall hair in the 18th century. Women in France would pile their hair up into elaborate styles that could be a foot or more tall. These styles were achieved with the help of hairpieces and padding and were often adorned with feathers, jewels and other accessories. Lead-based makeup in Europe. Women in Europe would apply a white powder made from lead to their faces in order to achieve a pale complexion. However, lead is toxic and can cause a range of health problems, including lead poisoning. Neck rings in Southeast Asia. Women in some cultures in Southeast Asia wear brass rings around their necks to create the appearance of a longer, thinner neck. However, the rings can cause neck muscles to atrophy and make it difficult to hold up the head without them. Cranial binding in ancient Mesoamerica. The practice of cranial binding or head shaping was used by several cultures in ancient Mesoamerica to flatten and elongate the skulls of infants, which was seen as a sign of beauty and status. Skull elongation in ancient Egypt. Members of the ruling class in ancient Egypt would elongate their skulls by binding them tightly with linen, which was believed to be a sign of intelligence and spiritual enlightenment. Lip stretching in East Africa. Women in some cultures in East Africa would stretch their lips by inserting plates or discs into them. This was seen as a sign of beauty and status, but it could also cause dental problems and other health issues. Modern beauty standards. Overly bleached teeth. Teeth whitening has become increasingly popular in recent years, with many people opting for extremely white teeth that can look unnatural or even harmful to dental health. Extreme contouring. The trend of extreme contouring involves using makeup to create defined and sharp features, such as cheekbones and jawlines. However, this can also create an unrealistic and exaggerated appearance. Tight gap. The tight gap trend involves having a small, narrow gap between the front two teeth. This has been popularized by models and celebrities, but can also lead to dental health problems. Extreme plastic surgery trends. Social media has popularized a range of extreme plastic surgery trends, including lip flipping, to create a fuller upper lip, fox eyes, to create a slanted, cat-like eye shape, or butterfly lips, to create a heart-shaped pout. Thigh gaps. The thigh gap trend involves having a visible space between the upper thighs, which has been promoted by social media influencers and models. However, this can be an unrealistic and unhealthy goal for many people. Extreme weight loss. Social media has also popularized extreme weight loss trends, such as the thinspo, short word for thinspiration movement, and the use of appetite suppressants and other diet pills. These trends can be dangerous and lead to eating disorders and other health problems. Face filters. The use of face filters on social media platforms has created a new standard of beauty that is often unattainable in real life. This can lead to a distorted sense of self-image and unrealistic beauty standards. Extreme hair colors. The trend of extreme hair colors, such as neon and pastel shades, has become increasingly popular on social media. However, these trends can be damaging to hair and lead to a high amount of maintenance and upkeep. Extreme nail art. Nail art has become increasingly intricate and extreme in recent years, with many people opting for long, pointy or embellished nails that can be difficult to maintain and can cause damage to the natural nail. Big lips. The trend for bigger lips has been popularized by celebrities and influencers, with many people opting for lip fillers to create a plump, pouty look. However, this trend can also lead to over-injection and unnatural-looking lips. Activity idea, beauty trends. Materials. Dress-up items, such as clothing, accessories, and makeup. Smartphones or cameras for taking photos. Paper and markers for creating a social media profile. Instructions. Introduction. Explain the objectives of the activity and the materials that will be used. Discuss the impact of social media on beauty standards and how it can affect our perception of ourselves and others. Dress up, 30 minutes. Allow participants to choose from a variety of dress-up items and create their own unique look that celebrates individuality and diversity. Encourage participants to be creative and explore different styles and aesthetics. Obsession, 15 minutes. Ask several participants to act as obsessive clients of the promoted beauty standard. Instruct them to suddenly start following the new beauty standard and making little catches like wearing the same color or using the same accessories. Encourage the rest of the group to notice these catches and discuss how the pressure to conform to beauty standards can affect our choices and behavior. Discussion, 20 minutes. Facilitate a group discussion with the following questions. How did it feel to create and promote a new beauty standard? How did it feel to receive obsessive feedback to your idea? How did it feel to notice others trying to conform to your promoted beauty standard? What are some negative effects of unrealistic beauty standards and how can we resist their influence? If someone offered you a large sum of money to promote an unhealthy beauty standard, what would you do? What are some ways we can promote positive body image and celebrate diversity in our daily lives? Recommended books. Beauty Sick: How the Cultural Obsession with Appearance Hurts Girls and Women, by Renee Engel. In this book, Renee Engel explores the harmful effects of societal beauty standards on girls and women. She argues that our culture's narrow definition of beauty can have serious consequences, including negative body image, eating disorders, and a focus on appearance over other important aspects of life. The Beauty Myth: How Images of Beauty Are Used Against Women, by Naomi Wolf. Naomi Wolf examines the societal pressure on women to conform to beauty standards, arguing that this pressure is used as a form of control. She explores how the beauty industry perpetuates these standards and how they are linked to gender inequality and other forms of oppression. The Body Is Not an Apology: The Power of Radical Self-Love, by Sonia Renee Taylor. Sonia Renee Taylor challenges societal beauty standards by advocating for radical self-love and body positivity. She argues that our bodies are not objects to be judged and compared but rather sources of power and liberation. Fearing the Black Body: The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia, by Sabrina Strings. Sabrina Strings examines the intersection of race and body size, arguing that anti-fat attitudes have deep roots in racial oppression. She explores the ways in which beauty standards have been used to uphold white supremacy and argues for a more inclusive and accepting approach to body diversity. Recommended podcasts. Maintenance Phase. Hosted by Aubrey Gordon and Michael Hobbs, Maintenance Phase examines various aspects of the diet and wellness industry, including the unrealistic beauty standards that are often promoted. They discuss the ways in which the industry perpetuates harmful ideas about body image, and offer insights into how to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Breaking Beauty. Hosted by Jill Dunn and Carleen Higgins, Breaking Beauty explores the beauty industry and the various trends and products that shape our perceptions of beauty. They interview experts and insiders to get behind-the-scenes insights and offer tips and advice for navigating the industry. The Beauty Brains. Hosted by Randy Schuler and Perry Romanowski, The Beauty Brains explores the science behind beauty products and trends. They debunk myths and provide evidence-based insights into what works and what doesn't, helping listeners make informed decisions about their beauty routines. Naked Beauty. Hosted by Brooke DeVard-Ozay-Dinley, Naked Beauty explores the intersection of beauty, wellness, and culture. Ozay-Dinley interviews experts and influencers to get their insights on how to feel beautiful from the inside out, while also examining the societal pressures that shape our ideas of beauty. Fat Mascara. Hosted by Jessica Matlin and Jennifer Goldstein, Fat Mascara explores the beauty industry and the various trends and products that shape our perceptions of beauty. They interview experts and insiders to get behind-the-scenes insights and offer tips and advice for navigating the industry.